that we don't have abortion, and you're saying, I desire that we have abortion, right? This isn't going to be something that we can in principle adjudicate, right? There's not going to be any sort of like a resolution method. Like, we can't rationally persuade each other to change our desires, I don't think.
Are you saying that relativists can't like come to some conclusion on if abortion is right or wrong? Is that what you're saying?
They can't come to a conclusion on it, but the question is like whether or not they can adjudicate with another person who's a relativist, or just not like another person, assuming that
like why couldn't they?
As well, abortion being right or wrong.
And then what was the private language one? Maybe you can explain that.
Oh yeah, the private language one. I mean, this depends on like what they take the moral semantics to be on should. Like if they take the moral semantics to be like these irreducible, like to be defined or synonymous with like irreducible private sensations, then you can apply the private language argument.
I don't know what that's supposed to be.
What I mean, like, so like, there's like, do you know what like a private sensation is?
Maybe I'm not really sure about.
Yeah, so just like a private language argument, like all a private language is just a language that can only be known to the speaker. So like, it's not only that the language is the language has to be like untranslatable, unlearnable, like unlearnable by other speakers, untranslatable. What's the other one? Like, yeah, etc. Right? You can't like put any like synonymous content to other languages. And with the private what I mean by like private irreducible experiences is that you can't reduce. Well, if they were private, right, you wouldn't be able to reduce them to anything public, right?
You wouldn't be able to reduce them to what? You like kind of cut out.
Oh, why you couldn't really reduce them to?
No, sorry, you couldn't reduce them to what?
Oh, you couldn't reduce any of the private experiences to anything that was public.
Okay. I'm not really sure, like, when you say only known to the speaker, like, and there's these sorts of words that are not synonymous to any other language. Like, what is that supposed to mean?
Yeah, that's one of the issues with the private language. Right? Like,
that's hard to explain. Is that like an issue with it?
No. So like when I say like a language is like only known to the speaker, I just mean that all the semantics, so like all the rules and semantics, etc. of the language is only going to be in principle known to the speaker. Like I just like so like only in principle the speaker could understand what the language like what the semantics of the language mean. So an example of this would be like if I had like a private sensation, and then whenever I had that private sensation, I would like record that private sensation in like a diary. Like that would be a private language.
Okay. So I'm not really sure, like, what is this proving?
Well, what a private language argument has to do with, I mean, it depends on how you would talk about subjectivism, right? But let's just like talk about private language arguments trying to communicate in general. Like it's just trying to communicate that these types of languages can't exist, right? Or that they're inconsistent.
The languages are inconsistent.
Yeah, they have some inconsistency, or there's another one like they're unclear, they're vague, right? There's just some issue with the private language that we could assume that they probably don't exist.
Okay. I'm not sure, like, are you saying that a subjectivist is committed to a private language?
I think some subjectivists are.
Okay, so
I don't think all subjectivists are.
Okay, so what makes you think that... Okay, so you're saying that not all subjectivists are committed to this private language?
Yeah, but I think some subjectivists are. And I think that's good enough to employ the argument.
Oh, okay, then, like, why are subjectivists committed to this private language?
I said some.
Okay, well, why, like, what kind of subjectivist is committed to this private language?
So, like, if you're a subjectivist that's going to reduce every single one of your, like, moral statements, like goodness, shouldness, oughtness, to, like, your preferences or your desires, and they're just, like, completely reducible to those, and then your desires and preferences are irreducible, right? So they're going to hold that your desires and preferences are irreducible, then that would be a private language.
Okay, so you're saying that the subjectivist that says goodness and oughtness is reducible to my preference is a private language?
No, so a subjectivist that would say, like, let's just say, like, I'm a subjectivist, right? I'm a subjectivist, and I say all I mean by good is I just mean my preferences. And what do you mean? What do I mean by preferences? I just say that they're kind of irreducible. They're not really reducible to anything else. Then even kind of employed a private language.
Wait, so if there's like a semantic privative, it's like irreducible? I thought you just said that earlier on the...
I didn't say anything about like a semantic, like there are plenty of things that are irreducible but not semantic primitives.
Well, I just take like a primitive to be the sort of thing that's like a definition that's irreducible. So I mean, but
well, like a semantic primitive, like I wasn't even talking about like a definition being irreducible. Like, I mean, like I was like also talking like actually literally like ontologically irreducible. Like there isn't like any, like it's going to be like a like strong, either like strongly emergent, so it's going to be like some new set of causal powers, right? Or there isn't really any grounding or explanation for the preferences.
Okay. So are you saying that I'm not like really sure like what this is trying to prove? Like
all this is trying to prove is that certain theories of subjectivism kind of rely on very, very like problematic semantic assumptions, right? Now, this is not true for all theories of subjectivism. Like if you're a subjectivist and you think that preferences are reducible to like certain psychological facts that are public, right? Then I don't see a problem, right?
Like if there's some sort of like cultural relativists, you wouldn't see a problem, but you would see a problem with like individual relativists. Is that what you're saying?
No, that's not what I said.
Wait, I thought you just said that if
like,
it's the sort of thing
we have individual relativist 1, we have individual relativist 2. Individual relativist 1 thinks that your preferences are like irreducible, like irreducibly private, right? Or irreducible and private. And then individual relativist 2 thinks that they are reducible. And they're reducible to these like public psychological phenomena. So we can like record them and we can like look at people's like statuses and what their preferences is and like veridically like interpret them, right? Like that, what's like the first one I think would be unintelligible, but the second one I think would be a fine position.
Okay, so I'm just not really sure like how this would refute subjectivism. I know I'm not really clear on the particular kind of subjectivism.
I literally told you that it didn't refute subjectivism as a whole.
Well, that's why I just said that, right? About the particular subjectivism.
It would refute particular forms of subjectivism because if your theory of subjectivism is unintelligible, then I don't know what you're talking about.
Okay, so let's just be clear specifically, like what form of subjectivism does it refute?
I told you the specific form. If you are unclear about the specific form and I have to give you...
You could just like tell me the name of it or something.
Again, then I don't really think
you could just like tell me the name or something.
Having this conversation. I mean, I'll keep telling you, right? But I feel like I mean, if you're just like having an issue understanding the concept, maybe I'll have to like come up with a different way to explain it to you. But all I'm just saying is like if you're a subjectivist and you think that your preferences are irreducible and private, you might run into a private language. Like that's
okay. Well, I'm not sure why subjectivists would be convinced to that, so I'm not really like if it's not refuting like I guess my form of subjectivism, I'm not sure why I would be interested.
I've run into plenty of subjectivists online who are committed to saying that their preferences are irreducible and private.
Okay.
So like I don't see like that's like the issue with that. I mean I think there are subjectivists like I forgot like very particular ones in the literature, but I remember there was one in the literature that was arguing like preferences were private. And there's too many people who argue that preferences are private outside of just like subjectivism. Again, they're irreducible. There's plenty of people who argue that desires and preferences are irreducible.
So
just in the pure philosophy of mind.
But they're like when you say private, right, or irreducible experiences, you define that as only known to the speaker, right?
Oh no! So when I say like something that's going to be entailed by something being private. So when I say like something's private, it's only accessible to one person.
Okay, so right. What is that supposed to mean?
So like it has epistemic accessibility, like
that doesn't really help.
You don't know what
only one person can know about it.
Like you
Sorry,
can
what?
know about it. You can have access to knowledge about it.
Like
So
you're seeing
so
some
the-
things
so-
right now, right? I cannot. No one but you can see what you're seeing right now, right?
Okay. But it seems like they could know that I'm seeing like whatever, right? Like I
They
could
could
describe
know
to
that
them
you're seeing, they
in the same
cannot
way with
see
my
what you're
preferences,
seeing.
right? Like I could describe like my
I
preferences,
know
right?
you're seeing a photo right now, right? Or I don't know. if you're
Wait,
on the
simple
phone.
text.
So I don't
wait,
see how-
simple text. Please don't be like retarded. Just let turns and flares.
Yeah, I'm not sure how preferences would be private, like if I can express them, right?
If you
Is
can
this
express-
recorded by the way or something?
I
so the
am
reason why
recording, yeah.
preferences- So there are people
Okay.
who hold, right, that preferences are private.
The issue is you're not
I
going
don't
to
hold
know
this
whether
view,
or not
right? It's not a
person
view
is
that I hold.
recording.
There are people who do hold this view, right? And if they hold this view and they hold subjectivism, then I would think their form of subjectivism would be unintelligible. I don't
Okay, so
understand
say that here, maybe I should put it this way. Say that I'm seeing something, right? And I express that I'm seeing something. Is that private, like me seeing it? Because it's known to you that that I'm seeing it.
So like the kind of like what it is like for you to see that thing, like me like literally peering through your eyes and being like having this embodied experience of you seeing that thing is inaccessible to me. Yeah.
But you know about it, right? That I'm seeing it.
I know what you're expressing to me, right?
Okay, then I'm not really clear on what you're talking about then.
Like I know, so when you say like, oh, I see like a red dot right now, and then I can make an inference that you're probably seeing a red dot.
Okay.
Like that might be the case, but then like the actual like embodied experience of what it is like for you to experience that red dot is inaccessible to me. That's just
So, I'm sorry, wait, say that one more time?
so the literal literal what it is like to be you experiencing a red dot is inaccessible to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so the experience is inaccessible, but me conveying the experience is not inaccessible, right?
Well, the like you conveying like the contents of the experience, all I can really know is like, what it would be like for me as a person to experience that thing, but I can't know what it exactly is like as you would experience it. Right. And then there's like ways you can talk about like against this, right? You may actually think that like, you know, situations like inverted qualia cases are like not valid, right? Or like they're not sound, or there's some issue with inverted qualia. But like I would never know like what it is like for you to experience a red dot. So when you say like I see a red dot over there, all I'm interpreting that as is, oh, according to my experience as a red dot, this is what you might experience it as, right? But that's not like what it is like actual like embodied phenomenal experience of you experiencing a red dot.
I'm like so confused on like everything you're talking about. I'm not even gonna cap.
I mean, this is like a literal like introduction.
Do you know
to,
what
like,
Mary's room?
I'm like vaguely familiar.
Okay, so this is a good introduction to what like private qualia is, right? So it's like you know what the color red is, right?
Uh-huh.
Imagine you lived in a society where no one ever saw the color red, okay? But like you know how to describe the color red, you know how to commute, like, but like people who never saw the color red, you start describing it to them, they would not know what it's like to see the color red. They would maybe repeat to you some properties of the color red, but they don't have the experience of seeing redness, right?
Okay.
It's kind of like in that society, the color red is, or the experience of seeing the color red, that's only accessible to you. That's the only thing. You're the only person who can access it. Yeah. So that's what.
I'm not sure how that would refute relativism then, if like we're going based off the assumption that like most people have preferences.
We're just
right?
establishing what inaccessibility is.
Okay, yeah, I think I understand that. So, I mean, but most people like have preferences though, right? I don't see like what's that like doing against those sorts of views.
So that it's refuting a very specific type of relativism. I'm like even like being very particular. Like with this particular type of relativism, it's talking about a very particular type of relativism that views like preferences as irreducible and private, right? Like if you hold that preferences are irreducible and private, and you also hold like subjectivism to be true, then I think that your form of subjectivism is not true. Like I think it's unintelligible, or there's some sort of like issue with it, right? But if you hold some other form of subjectivism that doesn't hold, right, that holds like preferences are public, or maybe they're like publicly observable psychological facts, then I just, okay, well then we can talk about different.
Wait, so are you just like, when you say unintelligible, like what do you mean by that? Like you just don't get the concept? Isn't that just like a tautology?
What do you mean by like what?
Like, so if it's a private language, right,
so, like,
for the relativist. Wait, if it's
so,
a
like,
private
it doesn't
language,
appear-
I thought you were like asking me like what? If it's a private language for the relativist.
It's like meaningless. It's gibberish. Like,
Wait,
you know,
it's
like if I were
gibberish.
if I were to like keyboard smash right now, and like I just keyboard smash right now, would that have like a meaning? Would that be intelligible to you?
I don't know what you mean by intelligible still.
You're like actively being dishonest here.
Well, look, I'm just trying to say that it seems like what's going on here is you're just saying those views like have this like trivial like problem. Like if by unintelligible you just mean, oh, I don't know what you mean, and by those views you just mean the sorts of views where they would have this thing and you just don't know what it is. Then it just seems like you're saying like this trivial thing.
Like I'm referring to like unintelligibility and like there's no like sensible condition. Like it doesn't appeal to any of the sensible conditions. Like we literally cannot, like no person could predicate anything about it, because there's nothing to, like no inference they can make about it, because it's just gibberish. It doesn't have any like truth, like properties or etc.
But the person who's holding this view, right? Like they know what preference means, right?
Yeah, they know what their individual preferences are, right? And they know that like they have their immediate sensations of their individual preferences. But I take that like particular view of that particular view of preferences to just be unintelligible, right? Like it's not like I think that's wrong, right? I think that their individual views of like that their preferences are public, right? Publicly accessible.
Wait, but to be clear, you said that unintelligible means that no one has any idea like what's going on, right?
Yeah, but like that.
Well, but they have an idea what's going on.
They do have an idea what's going on, which is why it's the case.
It may actually be a contradiction.
That it's not private. Like, it's like a very.
Wait, so like they do have an idea what's going on, so I don't like. But you're saying that it's unintelligible, so no one has an idea what's going on. So that may actually be a contradiction.
So the idea that somebody is like, okay, I might need to make it a little simpler for you, okay? So somebody's preferences, right, being irreducible to me would be an unintelligible concept. And I think, right, that people's preferences are public, like they're reducible to other psychological facts, right? So like when somebody says that their preferences are private and irreducible, I just think that statement's false. And the reason I think that statement's false is because the contrary would be unintelligible.
Wait, so you think the statement is like false, but you don't even know what the statement's saying? Like if I say like blah blah blah, like would you say that statement's false?
I mean that it's irreducible and private. Like I know what like it means
yes
for
no.
like a preference to be private and private and irreducible, right?
Like the point is, you can have like meaningless statements.
The world that you're talking about that's implied by it.
The point is
unintelligible.
You can have meaningless statements that are non-propositional, right? Like why would you say that it's false if you don't even know what it is?
Why would I say that's false? What do you think I'm saying is unintelligible, Turnz?
Well, I'm not sure how that answers my question.
No, I think
Can you just like answer the question?
Like, I think you're actively misunderstanding my argument, so I have to like. I'm
not even sure if you laid out like an argument.
You're having a bit of like I think you're having a bit of a dishonesty problem.
Like what are you talking about?
What do you think? Like
why are they dodging?
I think you are dodging. So. Okay.
But I just asked you a question.
Here. I just asked you a question, right? Are you going to answer my question? Are you going to answer my question? Okay,
are you gonna answer
we're going to ask.
Oh my God.
What do you think?
Like dodging the question right
when
now,
I say something, when I said this is unintelligible, right? What am I referring to that's unintelligible?
You're referring to the person's private language usage of preferences. Now answer my question.
So like the yeah. So like a private.
Still dodging.
I'm not going to answer your question because
You're not gonna answer the question.
Really,
You're like running right now. Okay.
Your question's already based on the assumption that that was my like inference. That wasn't. So like
That. Wait. So are you saying that that's not the case?
Okay, so when I say that there's like a
It's like a
private
yes or no.
language, oh my fucking god. So do you think that there's like some private things that are like? Do you think there are some private things that could be intelligible, right?
Look, if you're refusing to answer my questions, why would I answer yours?
I mean, like we can just end the conversation here.
Like if like if you want to refuse to answer questions, okay. Like if you want.
Yeah, if I don't think the questions are relevant, then I'm not going to answer the questions.
I mean, what was irrelevant about my question?
What wasn't relevant about your question? It already like assumed that like what I was talking about originally about preferences was about the preferences themselves and not the language that was implied about the preferences.
I'm not sure what you're talking about.
So when I say, right, that, so you're not sure what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay, so when I say something like,
Yeah, okay. Wait, can I try to help? It's like
Yeah,
someone
you helped
told
with the marriage
something
room
about,
stuff. That
like-
was a good. That actually was helpful.
Wait,
Thank you.
No, it's just you're being very difficult. It's just like if someone told you some incoherent description of a dog, and you're like, yeah, that's incoherent to me. You're not saying that the dog itself, like something about the dog, if it were to exist, like the dog is saying or what the dog is thinking is incoherent. It's just the concept they're trying to convey, the descriptions that they're attached to it, whatever. It's not coherent, right? If someone told me about like a book, okay, and they told me something about like an invisible book, I don't know how to read that. I don't know what that means. I'm not saying what the contents of the book are would be incoherent. I'm just saying the concept of itself of like the invisible book. I don't know what that means.
Right, but you're not saying that it's false, right?
It's not coherent to me. So there's a difference between
Wait, but sample text.
something can be true, false, and unintelligible. And
Yeah,
Flo's
yeah.
going with unintelligible.
Wait, but yeah, but
Yeah,
if it's
so it seems to be
unintelligible,
false.
would you agree that you should probably just not say that's false? Like if you don't even know what it's saying.
Okay, so if you want, I can change the word invisible to Baba Booey. Okay, the Baba Booey book. I don't know what that is supposed to mean, right? And so I'm not saying the book itself, the contents of the book are incoherent. I'm just saying I don't know what the Baba Booey book is supposed to describe.
Well, that's fine. I'm just saying, like, would you say that that's the sort of thing that you wouldn't say is
that's
false?
Fine. That's what Fleur is saying, and pretty clearly, everyone here can tell that's what Fleur is saying.
What do you mean?
Fleur is not saying the preference says if what you prefer is incoherent or there's no reason for you to prefer or blah blah blah. It's just the description of a preferences and the way they operate like that is incoherent.
I still don't know what you're talking about.
Okay. Okay.
Wait, I don't even. This might just be.
Let's reduce it very basic.
Like I was just saying that if
Predicates
something
will
is
have
the sort of
domains.
thing,
Wait,
if something's the sort, you
Predicates?
just like I don't know, if something's the
Okay,
sort of thing.
Predicates have
Oh my
domains,
God.
right? Predicates have domains, right? Like
No, that's not even.
I
That's not
apply
even
words.
needed for the. That's
Look, I was
not
just
needed.
saying if something's unintelligible, then I don't know why you would say it's false, and that's what my question was.
Fleur, I don't think Fleur said the view is false. I
They
think
did.
Fleur said the view is incoherent.
No, they
There
said
might
that the
just be
view was
agreement.
false.
You say the view is
They literally said that the view was false.
incoherent, or
I
did you
heard
say
that.
it's
Like
false?
everyone in the VC heard that. Like this is being recorded. I don't know why you would
You're
lie.
cutting out.
Sample, let me just ask you this in turns. Correct me if I'm not asking it correctly, but what you're trying to say is like if there's an expression and one of the terms there is like unintelligible, then turns is saying it doesn't make sense to grant that as a proposition.
Yeah.
Sample text, do you agree
Right.
with him?
That's right. That's what I mean. Yeah.
So, do you agree with that sample text?
I mean, some people in common parlance might say it's false if they're not being the
Yes.
most careful. But I don't
Come on, now you're
Don't like
just being
weasel.
loud.
I'm skipping there. Give me a second. Holy shit.
I
So
just asked you if
people
you
might
agreed with
say in common parlance the view is false, but
I just
what they
asked-
should say is it's incoherent. Yeah.
Okay,
Dude,
so you
chill.
I just
Holy
asked
shit.
you.
How's the debate
Okay,
going?
because-
Just yes or no.
Stop. Just shut
Do
up.
you think I don't know how to answer yes or no? Do you think I cannot tell it's
I
yes or no?
asked you-
I'm
Wait,
saying
Look, I just
let me
asked
ask
yes.
I just asked you if you agree.
I'll give you
I
an
just asked you if you
example.
agreed with what he'll say.
Hey guys, if
So-
everybody
so
could try to
I'll
not
give you an
interrupt.
Wait, why would you mute him? He like put the question perfectly. Why would you mute him?
Very quickly. So predicates have domains, right? They
Jesus Christ,
apply over something. Right? Wait, give me a second. Holy
Yeah,
shit. Right,
yeah.
So continuous, for example, the word continuous applies over the domain of functions. If I were to say a continuous, I don't know, whatever, give me something. A continuous party, I don't know what that doesn't mean. Like that doesn't mean. Although I know what the word continuous means with functions, I don't know what the notion of a continuous party or a continuous shower. It's just incoherent to me. I don't know what that is because it's outside of the domain, right? So that's kind of what Fleur is trying to say. You're mushing together concepts in a way that is incoherent.
Okay, to be clear, did you agree with what I said?
That if someone says like the terms are incoherent, they should say the view is the ultimate proposition is incoherent and not just false.
No, what I said, to be clear, was if there's an expression and one of the terms there, let's say it's meaningless, it wouldn't make sense to say that expression is a proposition. Do you agree with it?
That's literally what I said.
So we agree, right?
Okay, you said no to what I said. I said yes, but I described to you something and you said that's not what I said.
Do you agree?
That's literally what you said. Did you not listen?
Do you agree with what I said?
I said I agree. Can you not listen? Are you not?
Okay. So
it's all verbal dispute. No, there's a few things like, so look, there's just a few things I want to comment on.
Hey, let me ask a question. Fleur, did you say the view was incoherent, or did you say the view is false?
They said it was false and incoherent. They said both.
Yeah, I said it was false.
Okay, and why would you say?
I said it was false
in virtue of it being incoherent.
Oh God.
Jesus.
So I said it was false because it entails incoherence.
Well, yeah, I mean, there's just one thing I wanted. So, because I don't know why where this got into the qualia stuff, but what Tart said earlier when he said that
we were going to the qualia stuff. Anyone who listened,
please don't,
dude, like everyone let you ramble. Sample text. Maybe you can be just as charitable as everyone else was when they let you ramble. Maybe you can let him talk.
I don't know why you feel the need to like talk over me all the time. Okay. Now.
Okay, my Discord's lagging as fuck. Okay, maybe.
Okay, cool.
Go ahead.
Anyway.
Now there's.
You're still talking. You're right. So what Tart said earlier when he was talking about hypothetical norms requiring categorical norms, that's gonna largely depend on what the notion of ought means there in the traditional sort of hypothetical norm conditional. And I can easily give you an interpretation of ought where the statement is just false. So it's not the case that strictly speaking, if there are hypothetical norms, then there are categorical norms. And it's not clear. And in turns, it looked like you have the same view there. I don't know if Tart left, but I think that was like off the rocker there. But we also could talk about like private languages because I'm not even sure, Turnz. I'm not even sure there's a disagreement between you and Fleur.
Yeah, I don't.
It might have been slightly talking past one another.
Yeah, I think I got like confused on what they were saying.
Listen. You said we don't know why we went to the qualia stuff. Anyone here who listened even slightly knows when we went to the qualia stuff. It's because
you like hearing the sound of your own voice.
You just talked for like 2 minutes straight, just saying I don't know if there's a disagreement even, and you kept talking. Like holy shit! Don't talk to me about that. So You said, I don't know why we went to the qualia stuff. Anyone who listened knows we went to the qualia stuff because Turnz said, I don't know what inaccessible is, and Fleur tried to give an example of inaccessible, and I tried to bolster it. Anyone who listened even slightly can know that.
When I say I don't know, I'm just saying it's not relevant to the broader discussion about moral realism. I mean, it's not and it wasn't needed to go into. So I'm basically saying it's a rabbit trail. Now, Fleur, is Fleur, are you still here?
No, Fleur's not here.
Okay, yeah,
if I said a word and you're like, I don't know what that word means, and I'm trying to explain to you what that word means, do you think that's irrelevant?
Please don't ask me stupid questions.
Hey, can you say yes or no? It was a yes or no question.
I'm just gonna mute this guy just so I'm
okay. He's just not answering a question. Very simple. It's like, oh, you did something irrelevant. You did something irrelevant.
You did something irrelevant.
Yeah, you did something irrelevant. Oh, okay. Do you think if I do this and that, it's irrelevant? Oh, I'm just not going to answer your questions. Okay. Whatever.
The dodge.
It's pathetic. Whatever. Either way, I don't know if I agree with Fleur's position. Usually I tend to depart with the private language stuff, but it doesn't matter. Do you know what inaccessible means now? Do you know why can someone object to something being incoherent? That's like a fine objection. Are we all together on that?
I'm not really sure, like, are you talking about Fleur's objection that it's incoherent? Yeah. If they're just saying that it's, like, unintelligible to them, I mean, that's fine. But I mean, eventually it just seemed like they were making a trivial claim, which I'm not sure if I can lay that out. But I think I laid that out earlier on, so that's fine.
Mm-hmm. So if there's a predicate that only applies in a certain domain, and someone tries to apply it outside of that domain, that would be the entire phrase would become incoherent, right? Although each individual terms has a meaning in certain contexts, together they don't make sense. So it's just fine for Flirt to say, "Oh, it's in unintelligible." That's all I'm defending here. I'm not defending the claim. I'm not defending anything else.
Yeah, but then they said it's unintelligible. Then they went on to say it was false, and I was like, "Well, if it's unintelligible, it seems like you would just say it's non-propositional."
People are not being the most careful. Yeah, people are not being the most careful when they talk, right? Like, it's not. No one's gonna reduce everything to all three options of like.
So are you like admitting they made a mistake?
Yeah, that's probably technically a mistake, but it's just not the worst.
So it looks like we don't really disagree.
It's not the worst thing in the world. It's
okay.
But it's not. Well, but you treat it as if it's like the worst thing in the world, and like now the entire view is like a joke. No, it's just like a common mistake that is negligible.
No, like it's not even a mistake. Like they said that they meant to say that. Like, what are you talking about?
Gotcha.
Jesus, man. Okay, well, did anyone have an argument for more realism?
It's like the most boring conversation. Why would someone debate more realism? Well, I guess people do.
Okay, well. Hello.